I received a question today about my daily presence routine for grounding. Now, you will be surprised to know that my routine is not all that well defined and productive as for most people. I generally get up early in the morning about 5:30 or 6. Again, there's no fixed time. And then I sit in silence for 10-15 minutes. Again, it is not fixed. Some days it happens, other days it doesn't. Then somebody prepares tea for me. And then, washing up and just the basic stuff. By 9:30, 10, I'm ready for work. Then I either work at home or I go to a cafe where I write for some time, answer emails and, reflect on certain teachings. Then I come back and finally shoot a video, answering questions or just expressing whatever it comes to my mind. Generally, I don't plan what I have to speak about. It just comes spontaneously and I speak. So by 1:30, my work is done. So that is my work life from 9:30, 10 to 1:30 p.m. After that, I do not work. After that, I just have lunch, and post-lunch, I walk approximately from 2:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the evening. It's a slow walk where I'm simply observing whatever is arising. That is how it has been with me for so many years now. Now, for most people, this will be surprising because, people are used to long hours, long working hours, productivity. They require a lot of motivation to, to do things. I don't depend on motivation. In fact, most of the days, I don't even feel motivated to do anything. And I generally don't do anything when I don't feel like doing anything. Because there's no dialogue in my mind going on that I must be productive or that I must speak in this way, that way, convey this message, that message. If something comes up spontaneously, I share with you. If it doesn't come up, I just sit idle sometimes. My slow walk that has been consistent for many years now. And in that, whatever contemplation happens, I allow the insights to happen. And beyond 7, up to my bedtime, I just don't do anything. I don't read much. I don't dig into the smartphone that much. I may watch something random here and there, but I'm very selective about what I watch. It's usually some talk by Jiddu Krishnamurti or Ramesh Balsekar, if it spikes my interest. Otherwise, I just don't do that also. So over the years, my need to keep myself pushing and be motivated to attain has completely dwindled. So the natural outcome is the presence, which is always there. Now I can, while walking for such a long duration of time, I do see things, patterns arising in my mind. For most people, it is very challenging because we cannot sit with our discomfort. We always try to avoid our discomfort. So it's very easy for us to, latch on to devices or engage the mind somewhere else. And sometimes in the name of, productivity, we will say that I should be more productive and therefore I must do this, I must do that. That is not the case with me at all. My mind's movement is completely different that way. There is all the time this watching happening, this observation happening, which is just watching the mind, how it's moving, what it's thinking, what are the feelings that are arising. I see all the discomforts, I embrace all the discomforts, I sit with the discomfort. That has been a very big change in my life. After this understanding happened, I'm able to sit with my discomfort. But discomfort is there sometimes. The challenges are there. I wouldn't say that the discomfort never arises. So I'm not in a state of perpetual bliss as you would imagine. All thoughts, all dialogues arise in my mind. But my need to seek an answer, to seek a solution, to do something about them is not there. So in most of the cases, I don't do anything, I just watch. So that itself dissolves this whole issue of, doing something about a particular situation. Now, if it's a practical situation where I'm required to do something, like if my if my electric bulb is not working and I need to replace it, then that I do. But most of my days are filled with just this contemplation and not doing anything. I finish my writing in the morning, and I'm also very inconsistent in my writing. I'm also very inconsistent in my workouts. Some days I would do it in the morning, some days I would do it in the evening. Now I make sure that I do it 2 to 3 times a week. But again, there is no consistency, there is no routine, or there is no discipline in that way in my life. Even meditation, I usually sit for meditation only twice or thrice, maybe twice a week or once a week sometimes. And I don't do it for more than 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, because beyond that, my legs don't have the flexibility to sit in cross-legged postures. My legs feel numb after that. So it's not very comfortable for me. But walking happens a lot in my case. And sometimes contemplation happens in that state. And most of the time, observation is continuously happening in that state. So other than that, I don't follow any routine as such to bring the presence or ground myself. I allow for all possibilities. If I feel ungrounded, I allow for that too. The whole idea is that I'm not trying to train my mind in a skill, but just trying to know what this mind is, how it's working, without using a dialogue, without using the tool of the mind, but simply watching, observing what is happening. That is the best way to know the mind. Once you use analysis, you're using the you're using the tool of the mind to know the mind or to change the mind in a particular way, which may be futile. So, in that way, I'm quite a lazy person. I'm quite unmotivated. And also, although my fitness levels are okay, I would say, but they're nothing great. But I do believe in having good health, because that was one thing taught by my father, that your health is very precious. It's the most important thing, and it is required to give attention to it. So I make sure that I do work out at least thrice or 4 times a week in some form or the other. Now, walk does help on a daily basis. So this will be very surprising for people who have been told that they must follow a very disciplined life in order to be, spiritually more evolved. But you see, I don't believe in this idea of spiritual evolution. I just believe that all that needs to be done is watchfulness. In fact, watchfulness is not even a doing. You're simply observing, and in that observation, the insights come. And that itself is the evolution that is needed. Other than that, there is no evolution in terms of change in behavior, because all those things are just transient, temporary. You may change the behavior based on discipline for some time, but then again, the discipline may crack and the behavior may change, come back to the previous behavior. So, these things are not constant. So I haven't been very consistent in anything that I do. And this was a big problem for me when I was trying to do my own business. Now in job, I was forced into a line of discipline, so I was good at that. But in my own work, I didn't have the discipline to work steady and, create things, work on things in a step-by-step fashion, allocating a specific time of the day, specific hours in a day. I never had that. I never could do that. I tried quite hard. I forced myself, but it wasn't working. This mind-body organism is just not designed like that. So the best part of this was that I had to embrace the unpredictable nature of this mind-body organism. This is how it has been designed. Now the teaching does come out consistently through this instrument. But again, nothing is ever planned. Sometimes I get an idea in the middle of the day, so I express it to you. Sometimes I get an idea during night, and I express. Whenever the idea comes, I express. So it is not time-bound for me. I don't plan much. If I have to go on trips, then I plan. And I'm good in planning trips. That is one thing where I am disciplined. But in most other things, I am not very disciplined. I don't believe that there is any external motivation that can bring you spiritual insights other than simply surrendering to your own instruments and letting them operate and bring the knowledge that is necessary. So when we totally surrender to how things are, we do not feel bad for the way this instrument, this mind-body organism has been designed and is functional and operating in the way, in any way. So this is my life, simple, and there's not many interesting things going on. Other than that, I meet wonderful people in satsangs and talks. I come across a lot of heart-based people. That is a blessing I have to, God has given this grace where I meet such kind souls. So I'm really grateful for that. And I get a lot of support from my loved ones. There are people who really, really help me a lot. People who are not even living in this country, but they send help from abroad, they send help from other cities. So a lot happens for me. But deep down, I'm not a very consistent practitioner. It's not one of my strong traits. I'm not very disciplined either. So my routine is this. It's simple life and it works. So I continue with it. So I hope that answers the question, that helps.